Hello everyone, in this video we'll finally make a Philippines to US travel guide. This is for those coming from the US and have finished their vacation and now decided to go back to the US. What do you need to prepare or to know about when going back to the US from the Philippines? So let's start with general guide on US entry requirement. This is very simple. The US does not make it complicated to enter into their country. So general guide, this will be our flow. Let's start with testing, vaccination, and then attestation. Let's start with testing. First up, you need to have a negative test result or proof of recovery. This is a requirement by the United States CDC for all air passengers 2 years old and older. You will need to get a COVID-19 viral test regardless of vaccination status or citizenship no more than 1 day before you travel by air into the US. So you must show this negative test result or proof of recovery to your airline before you board your flight. This requirement, it does not apply to children who are 2 years old under 2 years old. If you have a kid who is 2 years old, they are covered. But if let's say they're 18 months old, 19 months old, 20 months old, they are exempted. Now, what type of tests are accepted? NAAT or antigen test. In the Philippines, it's very common, RT-PCR or antigen test. Yan po. This will be the type of test that will be mostly available. RT-PCR or antigen test. Now, when to get tested? You can get tested a day before your flight, anytime. Anytime the day before your flight or on the day of your flight. So, for example, if your departure is on April 25, 9 o'clock and 10 p.m., 9-10 p.m., you can get tested anytime on April 24, kahit anong time po, a day before your flight, anytime. The 24 hours rule does not apply, no? It's more flexible. So anytime the day before your flight or even on the day of your flight is fine. So for example, for this one, your flight is at 9 o'clock, you can be tested in the morning, no? Especially if you're availing antigen test. When you're choosing the type of test that you will be availing po, antigen or RT-PCR, I would be suggesting antigen test because it's cheaper. Antigen test is like 600 pesos or 650 pesos as to compare to RT-PCR, mga 2,000, 3,000 pesos if you want the result within 24 hours. So I would really suggest antigen test, cheaper, and the results can be released within 30 minutes or within an hour. Now, the order uses a 1-day time frame instead of 24 hours to provide more flexibility to the air passengers. By using a 1-day window, test acceptability does not depend on the time of your flight or the time of the day that the test sample was taken. So, for example, if your flight is April 10, pwede April 9, anytime during April 9, pwede kang magpa-test. Now, where to get tested? In the Philippines, if you're getting tested in a Philippine lab or clinic or hospital or whatever healthcare establishment that it is, it should be on the list of the Department of Health licensed COVID-19 testing laboratories. Let me show to you. So, these labs are accredited by DOH. I'll put this in the comment section, guys, so you can have a look. So when you're shopping around saan kayo magpapatest, you can find it here if the testing lab you're going to is accredited or licensed by DOH. So this is spread out all throughout the country from NCR to BARM. So lahat po ng region, they have an accredited licensed testing laboratory. Another choice, guys, for your testing is if you are a Philippine Airlines passenger po, you can have your test with them. Though they have RT-PCR antigen test, pero as I mentioned, antigen test is the most convenient option. Antigen test with PAL only costs 600 pesos with results released in 30 minutes. Testing is available via walk-in, is an open daily, Monday to Sunday, including holidays, from 2 a.m. to 9 p.m. Yan, antigen testing at NAIA Terminal 2 po. So, PAL po, they have testing facilities in Manila, in PAL Learning Center, in PAL Gate 3, in PAL Data Center Building, in NAIA Terminal 2. This is the most convenient. NAIA Terminal 2 antigen testing. They also have in Metro Manila, Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao. While PADLab is very popular among travelers po. If you want to get tested near the airport, there is PADLab testing site located at CBL area, Domestic Road, Pasay City. Pasay City, this is strategically located across Terminal 4 beside Park and Fly Building. Napakalapit po nito sa airport. Philippine Airport Diagnostic Lab or PADLab. They operate, guys, 24 hours a day. Walk-in is available. 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. yung drive-thru, Monday to Sundays. Appointment is not needed. Yan, this is the rates for their drive-thru po, RT-PCR yan. For results within 8 hours, they have a current promo of 2,400, while their antigen test po is at 650 pesos. Their walk-in rates are cheaper than drive-thru. Yan. Pero antigen is still at 650 pesos po with PADLab. For example, you just simply Google antigen testing near me, marami na pong lalabas. For those in the province, maybe your hospital po, yung mga hospital accredited testing laboratory, tell them if they can issue a certificate for travel. Yun lang po. While for those who want to do their own testing, no, according to the CDC, a self-test meets the conditions. You can have a self-test po or home test. But the most important thing is that the test must be nucleic acid amplification test, NAAT, or antigen test with US or FDA approved. The testing procedure must include a telehealth service in which when you test, no, there is a supervision through video call. Audio and video connection. And then the telehealth provider must confirm your identity. They must observe the swabbing, no? The sample collection and testing procedures. They must confirm the test result and issue a report. And you must be able to present the documentation of test results to US officials at the port of entry. Yan. So if you're asking if home test kit, yes, it is allowed as long as you have partnered with a telehealth service. Yan, telehealth service po. There's a website, a link to that for the FDA approved home test kits. I'll put it in the description box. A test result must be in the form of written documentation that can either be paper or digital. Pwede printed, pwede digital copy. Basta it has the information that is required like type of test, name of laboratory or healthcare identity, or telehealth service, collection date at full name with passport number or such as date of birth. Yan. Alternately, for people who recently recovered from COVID, they can show a documentation of recovery, a positive test result, or letter from a healthcare provider. Yan. It should be not more than 90 days before your departure, yung positive test result. That is only for those who recently recovered. Yan, this is the sample medical certificate. Next up, we have the vaccination. So for the vaccination po, U.S. citizens, U.S. nationals, lawful permanent residents, immigrants are exempted from the vaccination requirement. No, even if you are unvaccinated, as long as you are a U.S. citizen or a legal permanent resident, you can still enter to the U.S. You can still go home. You are exempted from the vaccination requirement. While non-U.S. citizens, non-U.S. immigrants, and non-legal permanent residents must be fully vaccinated to enter the U.S. unless exempted. For those vaccinated in the Philippines, you have two options po. You can show either a BOQ yellow card or VaxCert PH. Mas okay yung VaxCert PH because you can get it online for free. While BOQ yellow card, you need to make an appointment and you need to pay for it. So either of the two, it's your choice. If you're vaccinated in the US, then easy. These are the accepted vaccine brands in the US. While is booster shot a requirement to enter the US, CDC's order po is giving the requirement to only show proof of being fully vaccinated with a primary series of an accepted vaccination. No, booster shot po is not yet required to enter the US. No. Unvaccinated non-US citizens and non-US immigrants may not be able to board a flight to the United States unless they can be exempted. These are the exemptions for the vaccination requirement. Children under 18, persons with medical contraindications to receiving COVID-19 vaccines, people who are medically unable to get vaccinated, persons issued a humanitarian or emergency exemption. This is the detailed exemptions po list. The most important thing is that you have the appropriate documentation that you are indeed exempted. Next up, we have attestation. Attestation form is you are required to confirm that the information you present is true in the form of an attestation. So let's see what does that attestation form looks like, Jennifer. The attestation form looks like this po. It's a combined passenger disclosure and attestation to the United States of America that you have indeed shown a negative test result or proof of recovery na valid. And if you are a non-US citizen, non-immigrant, you have proof of being fully vaccinated. Or if you are exempted, you have proof of exemptions. And this is also asking about, pipirma ka lang po talaga that you have indeed the requirement. Yan, your airline, you will check this po. It is their job to check it po. Na tama talaga that you are indeed answering this truthfully. Each passenger age 2 or older must fill out this attestation form. Now, Jennifer, do we have to print it out before we go to the airport? Not necessarily, guys. It's your choice whether you print it at home and then fill it out before you go to the airport, or you can just do it at the airport. So it's your choice, no? This form anyways will be handed out by the airline. It's their job as well to hand it out. So you can either do it at home or do it at the airport. So in summary, testing is still a must for passengers 2 years old and above. Vaccination is a must for non-US citizens and non-legal permanent residents. Attestation form can be done at home or at the airport. And mask wearing inside the airplanes and airports is still a must as of the moment, as of today, April 13. Now, let's talk about Philippines exit requirements. Yes, the Philippines also has some requirements for your departure. General guide on Philippine exit requirements. This will be the flow. Let's start with COVID-related requirements, travel tax, and then immigration. Now, Philippines has no COVID requirements for departing foreigners, balikbayans, and Filipinos who reside abroad. This is still as is pre-pandemic. Only Filipinos lang ang meron. But always remember that Philippine passports must be valid for at least 6 months from date of departure. For Filipino tourists or Filipinos on short-term visas po, your passport should be more than 6 months valid before you leave the Philippines. While this requirement does not apply to Filipinos who are permanent residents abroad. However, in an inquiry with the Bureau of Immigration, they said that you must confirm with the airline po because some airlines are strict about it. Now, on Filipino tourists, this will be your COVID-19 departure requirements. This will be asked by the immigration. Travel and health insurance with COVID coverage during your allowable period of stay abroad. And then BI form acknowledging risk of travel. Sa mga Filipinos on tourist visas po, kailangan ng travel and health insurance with COVID coverage. And the BI form that you need to fill it out, madali lang po, pipirma ka lang that you acknowledge the risk of travel. Now, travel tax. Who needs to pay travel tax? Let's talk about that after this. Travel tax is 1,620 pesos, while for first class passenger, it's at 2,700 pesos. That's the rates po. Who needs to pay? Filipino citizens, permanent resident foreigners whose visas are the following. And then non-resident aliens who have stayed in the Philippines for more than 1 year. Foreign tourists who stayed in the Philippines for more than 1 year. People who are exempted from paying travel tax. OFWs, infants 2 years old and below, Filipino permanent residents, green card holders, dual Filipino citizens, former Filipinos, foreign tourists who stay in the Philippines is less than 1 year. Hindi na kailangan magbayad ng travel tax if you stayed for less than 1 year in the Philippines. In summary, for Filipinos on tourist visas, first, you need your US visa and supporting documents because immigration will ask, oh, what is your purpose of going to the US? So just bring the proof that you have used when you applied for the US visa. For example, yung bank statement, whether that's sponsored ba or solo, self-supported, or invitation letter from family, or bookings in a hotel, yung mga supporting documents lang that you already have, yun po yung dalhin mo. Next up is a negative COVID test result, antigen or RT-PCR, attestation form, vaccination card or certificate, CFO, this is for those who are going to meet their foreign fiancé or partner. If you have a foreign fiancé, kailangan talaga ng CFO. Next is your Philippine passport should be more than 6 months valid. Confirm round trip ticket. Alam nyo na yan. That's old rule. Kailangan talaga if you're on tourist visa. You can use onwardticket.com if you want a dummy ticket. Next up is a travel and health insurance with COVID-19 coverage. And then Bureau of Immigration form acknowledging risk of travel. For this one, you can do it at home or do it at the airport. Meron pong copy sa airport na you can do it there. So that's for Filipinos on US tourist visas. Next up, we have for US citizens, yan, a negative test result or proof of recovery if you have recently recovered, and then attestation form. While ECC, immigration certificate clearance, this is for Philippine immigration if you have stayed for more than 1 year in the Philippines. Let's say you are a tourist or a balikbayan who stayed for more than 1 year, or foreigners holding a valid registration certificate I-cards, ARC I-cards, they need ECC. If you stayed for less than 1 year, you can simply pay this at the airport. While if you stayed for more than 1 year, secure ECC at BI office. The charge for ECC may be around 1,210 pesos to 3,000. Last notes na po. Arrive early 4 hours before your flight. Bring your own pen. Comply with prepaid baggage and allowance and size. Pay attention to public announcements. Do not hesitate to ask security personnel if you have any concerns or questions. Be mindful of your belongings and do not accept packages from strangers. And always follow your airline advisories, guys. Don't go over beyond the allowable baggage allowance. Otherwise, you'll be paying hefty fee at the airport. If you're flying with Palpo, fill out passenger information form 24 hours before your flight. Yan, dapat sa mga PAL passengers. It will also email you anyways about that. So that's all po for the US travel guide from the Philippines to US. I hope this video gave you clarity po, and I hope I explained it clearly. Thank you so much for staying with me and trusting me with the information po. I'll put my sources of information in the description box. Please leave a like to support this channel if you appreciate this video, and subscribe if you haven't done so. And well, safe travels to the US, and God bless you all.